Okay, hello. My name is Ansley Stewart. I am one of the clinical librarians here at Cornell Health Sciences Library. I'm typically the one that teaches these monthly EndNote training sessions. Um, just to double check, can you all hear me all right? Could someone just let me know in the chat?
Yep, we can.
Great, thank you. All right, so hopefully you all are seeing the Cornell Health Sciences Library homepage here. Basically, we're just going to go over an introductory session on how to use EndNote. The first part we're going to do is, well, the very first part is I'll show you how to download EndNote if you haven't done so already. Then I'm going to show you how to get references into EndNote using the databases. From there, we'll just work a little bit with the EndNote software itself. How do you organize it? How do you get full text into it? And then the final part we'll learn is actually how using EndNote in your Word document so that it adds the citations in and writes up the bibliography for you. So as I said, the very first part is obviously, us having access to EndNote. So the university provides EndNote. If you ever leave the university or go to a different institution that doesn't have EndNote available to you, and you want to keep using it, at least the most up-to-date version of it, there is an annual fee of something like $200, I think. Um, so I suggest taking advantage of it now. If you leave the institution and you go somewhere where it's not available and you don't want to pay that, you do have access to whatever is the most recent version of EndNote that you downloaded with us. Right now, that is EndNote 21. So you'll go to the web store, which I'm showing you here. You can just Google, or not Google, well, I guess you could Google U of L web store as well, but it's if you go to the university's homepage, louisville.edu, and just search for U of L web store, this is what will come up. And you'll go to the EndNote tab here, and you'll click to download EndNote 21, and you'll just follow the process as if you were doing some online shopping and checking out. Obviously, it won't cost you anything. As a university member, it's free, but it will send you a little email receipt saying that you purchased EndNote 21. Like I said, it's free. It's not costing you anything, but it is still the process of online shopping and checking out. And then you'll ask it to download, and you'll choose Windows or Mac software to download, whichever one corresponds with the operating system that you're using, and just obviously follow the instructions from there. Until very recently, until actually just previous to last week, we were all using EndNote 20. That is the older version. We want to use 21, which is the most current version now, because in addition to some of the great things that 20 gave us, 21 now gives us the ability to use it within Google Drive, which was not a feature before. So I'll talk a little bit more about that as we move on. But going back to the library's homepage, like I said, we're going to start out with how do we get references into EndNote. So I'm going to open up, this is what my EndNote library looks like. As you can see, there's a lot of references in it because I've been using it since about 2015 or so. So I have quite a number of references. And of course, when you open up a blank one, it's not going to look like this. But when you do completely have a new EndNote set up, it'll be a blank page like this. I'm sorry, not like this, but without all the references and the PDF attachments. And you'll just click New to open up a new library. So moving forward, when I say library, I'm referring to EndNote libraries. That's what they call their files. I'm not referring to the library here on campus. So we can title this whatever we want. We'll just use this as our example EndNote library for today. So our one for August. And this is important, really, if you take nothing else away from the session, make sure when you are creating new EndNote libraries, and this goes for the first time you're using EndNote or moving forward, make sure you're saving your EndNote libraries somewhere on your desktop. That could be, within your documents folder if you want, or create a new folder, or the desktop itself. Just make sure you're saving it to an actual hard drive. Do not save it to a cloud system. Do not save it to a network drive, because eventually it won't happen immediately. It won't be within a 24-hour period, but at some point your files will become corrupted and you will lose them. And there's nothing myself or anyone who works at EndNote can do to retrieve those. So again, if you take away nothing else, do not save your EndNote libraries to a cloud system and don't save them to a network drive. Make sure you're saving them to a hard drive. So your computer itself, you can save it to a flash drive, you can save it to an external hard drive, That's all completely fine. And there is a way to back up EndNote. Actually, it's mandatory now to have an EndNote online account. And I'll show you that as well. So that's basically how you're going to back it up to a cloud system. You just can't use it without the EndNote online. That's the only cloud system it allows for. So here's a completely brand new EndNote library. We're thinking, great, this is, like I said, this is what it'll look like if you open up a brand new one, but we need some references. So I'm going to get off my soapbox about not saving it to a cloud system, and we're going to go to and explore a couple of the databases and see how do we get references into EndNote. So since we're on the health science campus, I'm going to show you how to pull articles for PubMed. I tend to use lung cancer as my generic search. We're just going to pretend that we're writing a paper on lung cancer today. That's going to be our running example. And when, I guess my computer's being a little slow today, but when it loads, you'll obviously see all the search results, searching lung cancer. And we'll just click on the first one here and take a look at it and assume that it is a good reference that we will want to save to our EndNote library. And so assuming this is an article we want to save for PubMed, you're going to click Send to Citation Manager, because EndNote is a citation management program, and click Create File. And so wherever your downloaded files go, when it finishes downloading, you're going to double click that. And if you're a new user to EndNote, it'll ask you where you want to send the file to. So it'll have the little window pop up, and you'll obviously direct it to send it to your EndNote program. Of course, assuming you have already downloaded EndNote, so obviously the first step will be downloading the EndNote program. I will say if you have trouble downloading the EndNote program and are unable to open it, you do have to speak to IT about that matter, because they are the ones that run the purchasing of the EndNote account. But if once you have EndNote open and you have any questions about how to use it, I am more than happy to help you along with any of our other librarians. So when I double clicked the reference that we downloaded from PubMed, like I said, if you're a first time user, you'll direct where the article goes and tell your computer to send it to EndNote. Since I've already had that in place, it just automatically sent it to my EndNote library here. And so now we have our nice reference. You can, in PubMed, all have multiple references downloaded to EndNote at one time. So if we go back to our search results page, and we'll click the first 6 or so here. Yeah, so we'll click however many you want to add. I think you can add up to 250 references at one time to EndNote from PubMed, but we're going to do the same thing, which is send to this button here when it does the drop down. Sorry, like I said, it's been a slow computer day. There we go. Okay, send to Citation Manager and click Create File. And it still downloads it to one file, but when we click to open the downloaded file, it'll import all 6 references for us. So there we go. And it's just gonna automatically open up to, it might be hard to see here, imported references. So we're just gonna see the most recently imported references. If you're worried that it deleted something you had prior that you already downloaded, it didn't. You'll just have to click all references to see your entire library and all the references that are within it. Okay, and so that's how to download from PubMed. Again, select which ones you want, click Send to Citation Manager, and select that, and then open it to import into EndNote. If we are using an EBSCOhost database, so let's say PsycInfo, I say EBSCOhost because that is the provider of a number of various different databases that we have through campus. It doesn't really matter what the name is, point being, if it has a layout like this, I'm going to show you how to pull the references from it. So we're going to do our lung cancer example again. And so, obviously similar layout. We have our search results here. We're going to click on this one. And instead of doing send to for these databases, you have to click export. And everything is already selected that needs to be selected. You can even see it says right here EndNote, so we know we're sending it to the right place. So we're gonna, whoops. Okay. So we're gonna click save. I'm sorry, I accidentally clicked the wrong button there, and so it sent me somewhere else. So to show you again, I would click export, and you just click save. And it does the same thing that it did with PubMed, which is download a reference file. And when that is downloaded, we will open it to then import into EndNote. And so it didn't automatically open up the EndNote program, but as you can see here, it did import itself into it. So if you ever don't see EndNote pop back up when you click to import into something, of course, go and check it, but it probably did import it into your EndNote library. And then we're also going to go to Google Scholar because it's a little bit of a different layout for how to pull references from Google Scholar. So when we are doing our search, we're going to see right here when the results appear, import into EndNote, but that's not an automatic setting. To see this link, to make it available to yourself, you have to go over here to the drop down and do settings. And at the very bottom here where it says Bibliography Manager, make sure you select the very bottom one, show links to import citations into, and make sure you have EndNote selected, and click Save. And then you will see the import into EndNote link here. If I hadn't had the settings set as such, you wouldn't see anything here at all at the very end of the links, but you should see import into EndNote when you do that within the settings. And so, yep, we're just going to click import into EndNote, and it's the same as the other two databases. It'll download a reference link. We'll click it, double click it to open it, and it automatically imports into EndNote. And so that's really the primary way of getting references into EndNote. You can pull references into EndNote with searching within the EndNote program itself. I don't teach that way, and I really don't recommend that way because it's pretty much only if you already know what the reference is, what the article is that you want to pull into EndNote as a reference. If you're trying to do searching by subject, it's a very messy way of trying to find articles, and I really don't recommend that because there's no way of really replicating your search or returning to what you were doing before. So really, you want to be pulling articles if you're searching for material, and you want to be pulling the articles from the database itself. So when we have all of our references into EndNote that we want, we're going to move on to part 2 of our training here, which is working within the EndNote program itself. So as you can see, we have about 9 articles here, but maybe we don't want articles. Maybe we want to add a book or a website or a newspaper or what have you. A lot of times it's really hard to find already auto-populated references that aren't articles or books. And so you can always create a reference yourself. And that's where this little clipboard icon with the plus symbol in it comes in. This is where you create your own references because, like I said, particularly for things like creating websites and whatnot for your references, it's kind of necessary because it's up to databases and sometimes the publishers to create their own reference metadata for you to pull and put into EndNote. So first off, you're going to want to obviously click create new reference, and then you're going to select what the reference type is. And as you can see, we have a whole lot of options here. So, maps, encyclopedias, films, government documents, grants, cases, books, websites are at the bottom here. And there are these unused ones are reference types that you can create yourself if you ever need that. But they account for things like podcast. And of course, you want to select which type of reference it is because it's going to direct you as to what information you need to be putting into that reference to make it the most up to date, depending on what citation style you end up choosing for your project. So we're going to do book. And let's say it's from 2018. And you can put in as little information as you have, but really try and fill out as much information as possible, again, because it's going to be pertinent for whatever citation style you're using, or if you ever choose to switch to a different citation style. So try and fill out as much of this information as you can, but it will take as little as you give it. And then you click save. And when it's saved, you can just exit out of the reference window. And as you can see here, this is the reference that we just created. And you can see what it looks like depending on what citation style you need. So if we're doing APA, it would look, it has the author's name and the year, the publication, and the book title in italics here. So you can see what it would look like in your paper. And same for any of the other references as well. So our paper here on lung cancer in China looks like that in APA style. You can switch it over to American Medical Association style, and it would look like that. And if you ever just need to copy and paste a singular citation, EndNote allows you to do that by clicking on the reference, and then you can click create copy, or just click copy, and maybe you can put it in an email or whatever you need it for. Okay, so now that we have all of our reference in here, unfortunately, none of these have the full text attached to them. That is a separate process. So EndNote has a really handy tool called Find Full Text. So select whichever articles you want to find the full text for, or you can select all the references at once. So I'm just doing Control A to select all the references. And then you're going to want to right click and select Find Full Text. Sorry, I skipped a step. Before we do the Find Full Text, one of the things you want to be doing is making sure that you are telling EndNote to access the U of L proxy that you have available to you as a U of L member. So you're going to want to go to Preferences. So if you're using a Windows system like I am, Preferences is under Edit. If you're using a Mac operating system, it's under Preferences is under the EndNote dropdown when you're in the program itself. And you're going to want to go to Find, when you select Preferences, Find Full Text here. And you'll input this URL, and I'm going to put this in the chat now so you all have it. But also, so you're going to want to put that URL in the URL path here. So that way, every time you're asking EndNote to find full text for you, it's looking through the library's proxy, meaning it's looking for all the journal articles that we pay to have subscription to and would be blocked to people who aren't part of our university. So unfortunately, it'd be nice if all articles were free all the time, but of course some are behind a paywall, and we want to make sure that you're getting access to those full texts that are behind our paywall that we subscribe to through our journals. If you forget how to do this, we do have, I'm going to go back to our library's homepage real quick and back to services, EndNote training, which is where I showed you how to download EndNote. We have a tab on Find Full Text too. So we have a little display here on setting it up to make sure that you're getting the maximum number of articles for Find Full Text as well. So if you walk away from this webinar and forget what I've told you, don't worry, there's instructions here on the website. So just did what I showed you, which is, filling out the URL under Preferences, Find Full Text. And now that we've set that up, you shouldn't have to do it again. It's just a one-time thing. now that we set that up, we're going to ask it to actually find the full text now. And so it does ask you to sign in with your U-Link. Obviously, you should know what that is. And it's going to start slowly searching. You can kind of see right here, when you ask it to find full text, it pops up on the left-hand side, letting you know that it's searching through whatever the highlighted number of articles you asked it to start finding. And it's not immediate. It does take a few minutes. If you've got a lot of articles in there, 200 plus some that you want to be finding, it might take up to 20 minutes or something like that. So you might just want to walk away, find a snack, come back later and let EndNote work on itself for a bit. But it does let you know the process along the way of finding whether it found a PDF or it found a URL of the full text, or if it didn't find anything. So still searching for this last one here. Like I said, it's not immediate. It does take a few minutes, but it helps so you don't have to hand add every PDF. And of course, it's not 100% foolproof system. I would say it doesn't typically find more than half of the full text articles for you, but it is saving you some time for not having to go in and hand add each individual PDF to the articles. So when we go back to all references, we can see which articles it did find PDFs for because it has a little paperclip icon attachment. So it lets you see, if we click on this one, it did find the PDF, and you can just click, instead of it being in summary mode here on the right-hand side, click on PDF and it shows you that it went ahead and attached the PDF. Now, once you start adding full text to your library, you need to minimize the EndNote library to show you something really important, which is, I'll delete these to make it a little less cluttered. I'm sorry, it's small. I don't really have a way of enlarging my desktop at the moment. But this right here, or I'm sorry, the purple and white icon is obviously our EndNote library that we've been working out of this whole time. And the corresponding folder that has the same name, August EndNote Library, this is where the full texts are being housed. So that being said, if you ever need to move your library, whether you're backing it up to a hard drive, if you're moving it from documents to your desktop, what have you, make sure you are moving these two together. Make sure you're moving the EndNote library itself, the purple and white icon, and you're moving the corresponding data folder with it. Because if you leave the data folder behind and you just move the library, you're going to lose all your PDFs. So make sure you're keeping these two together at all times. So that way you have your full text attachments visible in your EndNote library. Okay, so what do we do about the articles that don't have full text attachments to them? What we're going to do is you just go in and hand add them, honestly. So if we're in summary mode, you go to the PDF, we see there is no attachment, you just click attach PDF. And so go back and wherever you found your article, pull it from the database. If you ever can't find an article, you can always request it through our interlibrary loan service, which I'll make a quick plug for right now. So going back to the library's homepage, the Kornhauser Library homepage, we have the service called Interlibrary Loan, if you haven't heard of it, where you can go and request an article or a book or really any kind of media, and we will do our best to get it to you. Most often people are just requesting articles that we don't have access to immediately in our catalog. But when you can put in a new request, like I said, article, book chapter, patents, what have you. And then when it does arrive electronically, we'll send you an email. If it is, you can order physical books as well. Obviously, that'll just take longer. Usually in about 2 to 3 days, we get you an electronic copy of an article. That's what you need. And then you can just kind of see the PDF of it, and you can download it and use it from there. This is a service that most libraries, public and academic and governmental and what have you, use across nationwide, and it is international too. If we, there's a library in Poland that has an article that we need, they'll send it to us. And so what I'm trying to say is don't pay a journal, $25 or $35 for a singular article that you're going to use once. Just request it through interlibrary loan. We'll get it to you for free. Journals do not need your money. That's a different soapbox I'll get on. But going back to EndNote, like I said, if the find full text option doesn't work for you, you just attach the PDF from wherever you found it. And if you're getting it through a pirate site, I am not judging you. It is a tough economic climate out there, but I do suggest using the interlibrary loan because, like I said, it's free, and we'll get it to you. So yes, so now we have how to find the full text and attach it to our references. We can go ahead and organize our references. Let's say if we want to create a folder, they call them groups in EndNote. So my groups, you can just right click and do create group. And let's say we'll create a group for our lung cancer paper here. And we can just drag and drop whichever articles we want and do that, drag and drop. And that's just a way of organizing your articles, because most people work out of one singular EndNote library now. It used to be a number of people had different EndNote library files because prior to EndNote 20, which came out in either 2019 or 2020, one of those years, prior to that version of EndNote, if you ever tried to share your EndNote library with someone, they had access to your whole library. And that is pretty much when you're working in a group project with others, or you're multiple authors on one paper, that kind of thing, and people are trying to work within one EndNote group. You had to share the whole entire thing. Now you can just share an individual EndNote group with people, and it makes it a lot easier. So like I said, most people now work out of a singular EndNote library. And so that's why the groups are kind of important. So you can differentiate between the different projects that you're working on. And of course, how do we go about and share our EndNote groups or EndNote files with others? Great question. But first, we have to do some maintenance. And that being, we're going to go ahead and create our EndNote online accounts if you have not already done so. It used to be an option as a way for basically people to act as their cloud system, act as their EndNote backup. Now, particularly with this most recent version of EndNote, EndNote 21, it is a requirement that you have to have an EndNote online account, whether you want the backup or want to share your library with other folks or not. But either way, you're going to go to my EndNoteWeb.com. Forgot that it's still a little slow. So if you're not a member, obviously you just register, put in your email address. It does not have to be your university or hospital email address. I suggest you do so, but it does not have to be it. You can use your Gmail or your personal email, what have you. Mostly this is in place so that if you can't find help in terms of myself, one of the library members, or you just can't find the answer online, EndNote does have a hotline you can call. And whenever you use their services, you will have to give your login information to them, so they can record that. But other than that, you pretty much can use, obviously, like I said, any email is fine. So go ahead and put in the email that you're gonna use with this account, and you create whatever password it is. Your login information is not correspondent with any other university login, so your password isn't going to change or have to update every 90 days or so like it does with your link. So make sure you save them in a safe place and keep a hold of them, because you're going to have to reset it otherwise. And you don't even have to put in your first and last name if you don't want to. Obviously enter the CAPTCHA to verify that you're not a robot. If you are a robot, I'm sorry, no judgment, but it's still a requirement. And then you will get the email that says, verification that you registered with EndNote Online. And you will come back, once you do that verification, you'll come back and actually log in for the first time. So we'll click sign in here. And you'll see mine quickly auto-populate with all the 3,000 plus references that I have in my EndNote library. So here you can see the 3,000 plus references. When you create an EndNote Online account, if you're a first-time user, it won't be populated with anything, obviously, because you have not told it to sync with your EndNote library. So it'll just be a blank white screen for the most part with the toolbars on the side and the top. But when you do create your EndNote Online login, you're gonna, before you forget to do so, make sure you go to your EndNote account, and I'm just gonna show you my personal one, and go to preferences again. So this is what I was telling you to do with the find full text. Go to preferences. Again, it's edit preferences. If you're using Windows, it's EndNote preferences if you're using Mac. And this time we're gonna go to sync. It's just alphabetically listed, so under S, sync, and put in the same login with your EndNote account credentials. So same email, same password that you have, and go ahead and do sync automatically. So that way it's backing up to your EndNote Online account. And then you'll hit apply and hit OK. If you do go ahead and create new online, I'm sorry, not online. If you do go ahead and create other EndNote libraries, they're going to sync across each other. So it's almost a little pointless to create multiple EndNote libraries at this point, because they just sync across with the EndNote Online anyway. But some people still like to have the different ones. So, and I mostly, oops, I'm sorry, I preemptively closed that because now that we have created our EndNote Online account and we've synced it to the online account, we've synced our desktop version, which is the one we're looking at, with the online version. Now you're able to share your EndNote library with outside people. So again, this is when you have multiple people on a project, and you want to share your EndNote references with others. You can go ahead and share your entire library with someone else if you want. So it'd be file, share. And so these are, you can see some of the people I'm currently working with on a specific project. Or you can share your individual group with some people. So you just, to share either way, you're going to enter in their email address as it says separated by commas if you have more than one person, and then you can offer them read and write permission or read only permission. So read and write, it means they can edit it. Read only means it's just view, they can only view the references in the EndNote library that you're sharing with them. So choose wisely, because if you select read and write, aka editing permission, they obviously have the rights to edit whatever you're sharing with them. And if they do make edits, you're not going to know what those edits are until you come into the EndNote library and check the history. You're not going to get a pop-up or any kind of notification that says Jane Smith edited the 2017 article reference. Like I said, you're going to have to go in and check the history if anyone made edits. You're not going to get a notification if anyone did. So choose wisely if you're offering someone editing permission. And so you just select whichever permission you want to give the people, and you'll obviously invite them, and they already have to have EndNote on their end to accept the invitation. So you can't just send it to someone, and even if you give them read-only permission, aka viewing, they can't view it unless they have the EndNote program already set up on their end. So you do that, and you'll send it to whatever email address that they have with their EndNote account, so that way they can view the EndNote file that you're sharing with them. And same thing, if you just want to do an individual group, you'll just right click and, I'm sorry, you have to select the group that you want to be sharing and click file, share. I'm sorry, there's a few minor things for the new version of EndNote that I haven't fully gotten used to since we just started using it last week. Where is it? It's not available to be seen right now, but if you do right click, there is a share group option. And it's the same thing that I just showed you, the same box. It's just when you do click share, instead of sharing and it just having to be sharing right at the top here and the bar, it'll say sharing and then it'll say the group name. So you know you're just sharing a group with people. I hope that makes sense. But just so you know the difference of whether you're sharing a group or you're sharing your entire EndNote library with someone. Okay, trying to think. Oh, going back to our lung cancer example library here, one of the other tools I wanted to show you is they do have the option of finding and deduplicating your library within EndNote. So if you go to the library dropdown, and this should be library for both Mac and Windows operating systems, you'll click the tool Find Duplicates, and then it'll scan your entire EndNote library and say, hey, we found these records. Which one do you want to keep? Or you can keep both if you wish. And obviously this is best practice before you start writing up your paper, so that way you don't have a duplicate of a particular article that you want to be using, because it does get messy when you start writing your paper and you cite one of the references, but maybe you make edits to it or something, and then for whatever reason it's not the correct information in your paper that you're told to cite. Basically you're telling, you're working within the two different references, both in the paper and the EndNote program, and your computer just telling it, you're just telling the computer to work with one and the other. It just gets very messy. So best practice, deduplicate before you start writing your paper. Tell it which record to keep. And if you do make a mistake, any duplications that you tell to go to the trash, just go to the trash, and will stay there until you empty the trash. So there is a bit of a safety net there, where if you think you mistakenly deleted the wrong one, you can pull it back. But at least now when you are inputting references into Word document, the ones that are in the trash won't be a citation option. So again, it won't be confusing when you're writing up the bibliography in your Word document. Okay, so now that we know how to pull references from multiple databases, we know how to organize our EndNote libraries, how to attach PDFs, how to share, how to organize the groups within EndNote, how to share our EndNote groups and or libraries, how to deduplicate, and yeah, that should be good to know. There are other tools and tricks within using the EndNote program itself, but at this point, it's kind of what do you need? I can kind of help you with that if you ever need further information or kind of more of a deep dive on how to use EndNote. But obviously, this is just an introduction course on how to use EndNote. So now we're going to move on to part 3, our final part of using EndNote, which is the writing of our bibliography in the Word document. So we're going to minimize all of our windows here, and we're going to pull up our Word document. So you have downloaded EndNote correctly because, well, in the process of downloading EndNote, and this is true for updating EndNote to EndNote 21. I'm not sure if I made that clear earlier. If you have an older version of EndNote, and you're trying to get the most recent version, the current version, EndNote 21, you still have to go through the U of L web store and check out and download it. And EndNote knows to update your past libraries and whatnot to EndNote 21. But you have the correct download, and everything's updated because if you open up your Microsoft Word document, EndNote 21 tab will be visible. So when you're downloading EndNote, you are told by your computer to exit out of all Microsoft programs because it's busy inserting itself into your various Microsoft programs, like I said, like your Microsoft Word here. And I think on the Windows version, you can use EndNote within PowerPoint. I'll have to double check on that, but that used to be the case at least. There are other Word document programs you can use EndNote with, but mostly people just use Microsoft Word. I haven't had anyone experience otherwise. Just recently, and again, I say this with the most current EndNote update to 21, you can go to, you can use EndNote within Google Drive. So this is just as a week ago when the university got the EndNote 21 version. You can use EndNote in Google Drive, and I'm going to go ahead and put the web page with instructions on how to use EndNote within Google Drive here in the chat. So this walks you through it. So you can see August 21st, sorry, not 21st, August 1st, a very recent update. Before, you always had to use a Word document program that was not affiliated with the cloud system. So I'm not going to show you step by step how to do it. I've given you the instructions on how to do so in the Word document. If you have further questions about that after the session, let me know. I'll try and help to the best of my ability. But I'm going to show you how to use EndNote within Microsoft Word, because like I said, that's still the most prominent way of doing so. So we're going to create our first sentence of our example paper here, and we're going to go, great, that needs a citation. There's two ways to insert citations from EndNote. You can click, you'll do the drop down, insert citation, and you can click the first one, which is insert citation, and it just pulls up a listing of all the articles available to you through your EndNote library. So you can search by, any term you want. You can search by author's name, you can search by year, you could put in any phrase. So I've just put in lung cancer here and say find, and it'll pull up everything having to do with that term for you. If you're working out of a shared group, make sure you select shared group instead of library there. I probably shouldn't have done that. I was trying to switch over. It might take a second. Okay, never mind. I'm not part of a shared group with this one. So that saved time. So I'm just saying, if you are not finding the reference that you know is there, that has been shared with you, make sure you are in the right shared group or your library. So that way you can find what you need to find. But let's go ahead and select the reference that we want and just click insert. So again, that was insert citation. You'll find the reference that you want in the listing and click on it. And so right now we have this citation right here, and at the bottom will always be the bibliography continuously being added to as you add citations to the Microsoft Word program. So the other way of adding citations into Microsoft Word is you do insert select citations. And that was the one I had selected within my EndNote library. So I should have made that a little more clear. So you can go into your desktop version of EndNote, select whichever one you want to be added into the paper, make sure it's selected first, and then come back to your EndNote and come back to your Word document, do insert selected citation right here, and it'll just pull it up like it did for mine. So show you another example. So we're going to go to our EndNote library and click this article, go back to the Word document, insert selected citation, and there you go. Adds in another one for us. You also have the option of adding in multiple citations at once. So you can do that by either do insert selected citation, or sorry, insert citation here, and you can click on one, hold down your control button to highlight another one, and click insert. So that way it does that. And then same thing for insert selected citation. you can do the same thing, which is go to your EndNote library, select an article, hold down Control to highlight a different article, go back to your Word document, and insert selected citation. So as you can see, the whole time we've been adding in articles. It's updating the bibliography as we add in the citations, and it's putting it in the correct order because we have told it to do APA style right here. So if we want to switch it over to American Medical Association, it'll switch it up into the correct formatting for the American Medical Association right here. So that being, the first insert is the first one in the bibliography, whereas compared to APA, the bibliography is written in alphabetical listing according to author's last name. It's chronologically within the paper for the American Medical Library Association. Not Medical Library Association, American Medical Association style. So, but I will say just real quick, if you are using the American Medical Association style, you do have to go first to styles, drop down, select another style, because it's not one of the pre-populated styles that is citation styles that's offered. So you're gonna have to go down to the J's because they're alphabetically listed, but it's the very last J because it is an acronym here. So it is JAMA for Journal of American Medical Association. And so more commonly we call it AMA style, but just know this is the correct one. Select JAMA, the very bottom of the J's here, and hit OK. And it's obviously not updating because we're already in the style, but just know if you want that style, it's not one of the automatically populated list drop down. And you can see there's over 500 different styles here that are automatically populated with EndNote. Last I saw, there was 3,000 plus different citation styles in the world. So if you go through the list and you can't find the one that you want to find for whatever obscure journal you're trying to publish with, just know that you can type in whatever the citation style is and along with EndNote into a search engine, and it should come up. And EndNote, the EndNote website itself will have more citation styles that you can download. They just obviously only have so much room to download these 500 styles that are the most commonly used. But EndNote does provide more citation styles than just these 500. You just have to go and download it from their website to access it if it's not one of the 500 ones. So, a few more things about writing in your Word document that you can better use EndNote. Let's see. So I'm going to switch it back to the APA style because it's kind of more relevant for this. Anytime you need to edit a reference, or I'm sorry, a citation here or the bibliography, make sure you're going and choosing edit and manage citations. This is because if you go in and try and correct something, let's say something's lowercase when it should be capitalized, or if you want to, this is the second time you're quoting this person and you are getting rid of the year and just leaving the author's name, what have you. If you just use your keyboard strokes to delete something, it's going to delete everything. EndNote freaks out a little when you try and use keyboard strokes to edit it. You really have to go in and use edit and manage citations. So let's say with these ones, we're going to edit this reference here, the bottom one. You can, oh, I'm sorry, I clicked on it and it took us to the desktop version. Sorry. Like I said, when it's a little slower, sometimes it takes a minute to react. Once you selected the one that you want to edit within the paper, you can say how you want to edit it, whether you want to exclude the author, the year, or show only in bibliography. So that way you're deleting the citation, but you're not deleting it from the bibliography. And so I know that was kind of quick. I don't know if you saw it, but I'll do the same for show you again. So this is one of the ones where we have a double citation. And I'm just gonna say show only the bibliography. So that way it minimizes it to just one of the references, but it still leaves the other reference in the bibliography here. Because like I said, if you try and just go back and delete something, if I wanted to do that and use keyboard strokes, it's gonna take the whole thing out. It like I said, it freaks out a little bit. And it doesn't like it when you try and use keyboard strokes to try and edit. So make sure you're doing edit and manage citations. One of the things, if you're having a hard time finding citations, if you're doing the insert citations and having the window pull up here and you're having a hard time finding your library, because I noticed this when I was helping someone out with the new EndNote 21 the other day, make sure your Word program is synced up to your library. And you can do that by doing preferences here under the EndNote 21 tab. So do EndNote 21, preferences, and do application, and just make sure you are selected for EndNote instead of EndNote Online. You can work out of your EndNote Online account if you want, and that's how you're going to be able to use the Google Drive Cite While You Write feature if you want, with the link that I showed. But for this case, if you're having, like I said, if you're not able to see the EndNote library that you have already established, make sure you're in the correct one. So that's under preferences within the Word document and go to application. Okay, one final thing before I have a few minutes left and I'll leave open for questions. Like I said, if you're ever having trouble, please feel free to ask me for help. Or if you just want a refresher, we do these monthly trainings. It's the same information month to month, just getting you started on EndNote, but you can always ask myself for help. So this has been me speaking to you right now. Email is best. I'm not always in my office, so you can try calling, but I'm not regularly in my office. And then if you can't get a hold of myself, obviously anyone else, any other of our librarians are very happy to help you. If it's, you know, after hours or you can't get a hold of us. EndNote itself does have a hotline, like I mentioned earlier. So if you just Google EndNote tech support, it should be the first thing that comes up. Yeah, it's contact EndNote. They do have a live person who answers the phone and walks you through whatever issues you're having. So you can see EndNote support. Oh, they switched to 24 hours. Okay, great. That's been a recent development in the last month or so. But you can call this number and get help from them. They've always been able to answer my questions whenever I've been stumped. And if let's say, because you can see they're only available Monday through Friday, if they can't answer your question because it's 11 o'clock on a Sunday and your paper's due tomorrow, I really recommend looking at YouTube, because there's a lot of people who put up really good tutorials on how to use EndNote. Other libraries and other institutions that have put up kind of tutorials on how to best use EndNote. And that is it. Okay, so we have 6 minutes left. I'll stay on for another 10 or 15 minutes for anyone who has individual questions that they want to ask regarding EndNote. But thank you everyone else for attending today's session. And I'm gonna, if you would like the recording, please send me an email. I don't send it out to everyone so that they're not spammed. But if you would like a copy of today's recording of this training, go ahead and send me an email and I'll get it to you. But go ahead and enjoy the rest of your Wednesday. And yeah, thank you.